A warm welcome to ANN7 Prime. Thank you for joining us. My name is Audrey Chimwanda, standing in for Cindy Mavi. It's just gone after 7 p.m., 6:30 p.m. actually, Central African time. And of course, you're at home. Are welcome to join the conversation on our Twitter handle at ANN7TV. We'll be going into a discussion very soon. Our phone lines are open. You're welcome to give us a call and share your views with us. In our top story, the Zion Christian Church has rejected with contempt an apology by Tiso Black Star to its church leader, that's Bishop Barnabas Likhanyane. This after the media group published a front-page story in the Sunday World in which it reported that Likhanyane was being taken to court by the ZCC branches in Botswana. The church challenged the inaccuracy of the story, and the media group published an apology on the 24th of September. However, the church has dismissed this apology, saying that it is half-hearted and they have shown no remorse. The church said the media group's intent is to ridicule the 16 million strong church and its leader. Now, the church called for the continued boycott of Tiso Black Star's titles. Now, let's take a look at why the church rejected Tiso Black Star's apology. The church says that the media group's apology lacks genuine remorse. It said that the media group blamed misinterpretation of the court documents instead of taking full responsibility for their inaccurate reporting. Now, the church says the media group failed to show commitment to fair, accurate and balanced reporting. And they went on to say that the publication of an apology on page 3 demonstrated that the media group lacked being genuine. They also said that the apology is an attempt by Tiso Black Star to reinvent itself using the church leader's name. Now, this is not the first time that the media group finds itself apologizing for its inaccurate reporting. Let's take a look at some of the apologies in the past. In March 2015, the Sunday Times was directed to apologize to the former intelligence minister, that's Ronnie Kasrils. This after the paper published a story alleging the so-called spy tapes revealed that Kasrils was the mastermind behind the manipulation ahead of the ANC conference in Polokwane. In December same year, the Sunday Times issued a front-page apology to the former finance minister Pravin Gordhan for failing to give him the right to reply a story that implicated him in a so-called SARS rogue unit. Fast forward to October 2016, the Sunday Times apologized to the National Treasury's legal head, Rebecca T., for incorrectly stating that she had sent letters to Denel demanding that it dissolve a partnership with VR Laser Asia or face legal action. In March this year, the Sunday Times is directed to retract a statement that former Eskom CEO Brian Molefe had claimed that he had visited a shebeen in Saxonwold.
Like we said before, we are not prepared to engage the church publicly or through the media. What we will do is that we will continue communicating with the church. The apology was done by the Sunday World, and as management, because you are speaking to me, I'm not an editorial. I'm Deputy Managing Director of Tiso Black Star. We don't interfere with editorial processes. So I cannot speak on behalf of the Sunday World about the apology. So that is why it's inaccurate for you as well to say that Tiso Black Star has apologized. The people who apologize to the Sunday World.
In another instance, the ANC Deputy Secretary General, Jesse Duarte, has slammed media reports that are implicating her in a mobile clinic project allegedly involving the Free State government and members of the Gupta family. Duarte, in her reply to the article that is entitled Gupta's Shifty Dubai Clinic Project Exposed, questioned how the publication had come to the conclusion that it had made and why she was not contacted for comment. She categorically denied having knowledge of the companies involved and that the article only linked her to the deal through her son-in-law, that's Evan Whitley. Now, in a letter to the Business Day, Duarte said she had never heard of any clinics in the Free State, nor is she associated with any company named Q River. She accused the journalists of linking her to a sinister plot to defraud the state. She has asked the journalists to go beyond innuendos and terror by suggestion and get the real facts that will result in prosecution and not end in the prosecution of individuals. So the question we're asking our viewers today, has the mainstream media become an instrument to peddle lies? You're at home. Welcome to joining the conversation. Once again, our phone lines are open, 011-542-2186. Go ahead and give us a call and share your views with us. Of course, in studio, I have guests joining me to help us dissect these issues. Dirk Visa, social media expert, live in studio. Oliver Dixon is back, socio-political analyst. And on the phone line, we'll be joined by Right to Know campaign coordinator Dr. Opa Fumba. Gentlemen, welcome to NN7 Prime. A direct relationship between power and media. People say if you have control of the media, you have control of the power. How true is it in these cases we've seen with the Jesse Duarte, we've seen now with the ZCC Church? You're a social media expert, you tell us first. We've seen, of course, everyone who's got a cell phone now has got the ability to put out whatever they feel is news, whether it's accurate or not. You can't really regulate that, can you?
Yeah, you can't really. And we've got the issue of fake news, which comes in a lot. And there's, any number of fake websites that you can post a news article to. But if we just take a step back before social media and the power that traditional or mass media had in the past, you were able to sway public opinion just by an article in the newspaper. And the issue of the right to reply and having people come back and speak back to the articles is vitally important. And the media itself is kind of finding itself in a very strange place, because now what's happening is that users and consumers are looking at the articles, looking what's going on in the political arena and saying, is this the right thing? Should we be calling these leaders out? And a lot of these people are calling the leaders out. And the mistake that a lot of the journalists are making is that they're not researching properly. And they're finding facts wherever they can find them, because these stories are so hot and social media is actually beating them to the punch to put the articles out.
Yeah.
So they are trying to put out as much as they can, and unfortunately research and facts fall by the wayside.
And this is mainstream media that is making these errors. Journalism 101, get a right to reply from whoever is involved in the story. This didn't happen in the stories that we spoke about just a few minutes ago. Oliver, I'll come to you. We just need to take a caller. One of our viewers is on the phone line. Artie from Cape Town, very good evening to you. Please share your views with us.
Good evening, Audrey, and thanks for actually...
Yes, Artie?
Hello, Audrey. Thanks very much to NN7, first of all, for putting me through. Audrey, just quickly, with regards to this story from Sunday Times, the problem here, Audrey, is the fact that President Zuma needs to take accountability, first of all. Why do I say that? There is no media tribunal here in South Africa. And so now that gives a chance for these outlets, because we don't have journalists here in South Africa, let's be honest. Because Sunday Times, these guys that are perpetuating these fake news, they're pushing a narrative, okay? And also they're protecting what? This economy that's side-skewed for white people. So until there's a media tribunal, these stories are going to keep escalating, and we're going to keep having this same problem. So President Zuma needs to actually make a decision. Is he really serious about actually giving proper news to South Africans, or is he just going to allow white people to keep continuing what they're doing? Thanks a lot, Audrey.
Thank you, Artie, for sharing your views with us. Well, Artie seems to think President Jacob Zuma, everything stops with President Jacob Zuma, including fake news. Oliver, would you like to get involved in the conversation? Do you think there's a deliberate move by mainstream media to push their own agendas and peddle stories that are just simply not true? Some of the times like we've seen.
I think President Jacob Zuma, perhaps one of his greatest successes, is continuing the level of media freedom that South Africa enjoys. I think that's a valuable thing, because you could say just about anything about anyone and about any issue, just as long as it doesn't cross the lines of defamation and incorrect information. You can go about criticizing President Jacob Zuma as much as you possibly can. And there's almost very little recourse. We've seen the sort of things put out about him into media, and how the responses have been about that. But it's true. Those who control the media control the narrative and control the politics. But often those who control the media are those with capital. And those who then ultimately with capital control the politics. And it's important that we are aware of that relationship between media, politics and capital, because it's exactly what gives us, for instance, a neoliberal society where white privilege can continue to exist. It's exactly the fact that NASPERS can remain a big multinational, a big national corporation that holds so much capital, built off of apartheid, and can continue to control media narratives in the country. And those sort of things are important to make note of. I think the greatest failure we had was not to disband media agencies that actively hid the realities of apartheid during apartheid, specifically to the international community. Those media agencies, media arms, were allowed to continue to exist into our democracy and never once changed their narrative with regards to how they view black people, black leadership, and how they view whiteness and white leadership. And that narrative continues to exist. So importantly, and if we were to tie it, for instance, back to how it plays out in granular detail, right? There is a concerted effort by media agencies to discredit certain politicians with regards to issues that they stand on. So one could really give enough analysis as to why perhaps the relationship between Tiso Blackstar criticizing so harshly against the ZCC church and the ZCC's blatant and public endorsement of Deputy President Ramaphosa. There could be a relationship existing there. It may or may not be the case, but there's enough to speculate and then to investigate.
Right, so you need to understand the links of why certain narrative would be pushed by a certain media house and the credibility of it. We have another viewer on the line, a gift from Bushbuck Ridge. Thank you for joining us. Your view?
Yes, ma'am. How are you? Hello?
Yes, Gift, go ahead.
Yes, I'm very much disappointed with what the Chiefs of Black Stars is doing, because it's a clear sign that the media is fighting mostly black leaders, and they are covering up all what the white people are doing, more especially white, well-known people. And what they've done to the ZCC church is very despicable. I think what the ZCC is doing now, rejecting the apology, it's a clear sign and a war directing to the white media, more especially to say that what the white media is doing, peddling into the lives of other people and printing lies. And it's sad because the very same journalists are black brothers and black sisters.
Right.
The sad part.
Yeah,
So
Gift, I think you've made your point. Thank you so much. Just in the interest of time, we also have another caller. We've noted your point. Don from Eastern Cape, thank you for joining us. Good evening to you.
Yes, the point I'm trying to make is that among the things that were put against the Sunday Times was that Brian Molefe never said he'd been in sexual work. He did on television. And took trouble to go and find out where that shipping was.
Yeah, Don, thank you for your point. We also have Mandla from Witbank. Good evening to you.
Hello, how are you, Audrey?
Yes, Mandla,
Hello?
please go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes. I think this is enough. I think our president must take a stand. You know, this is my white mainstream media, and this is getting out of hand. Something must be done about this. We are tired about all these lies. But I'm telling you, Audrey, one thing from certain. Come December, many people are going to see what they are going to see. They will not forget in their lifetime. I think Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma will put an end to all this fracas. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your view there, Mandla from Witbank. We also have Opa Fumba from Right to Know Campaign Coordinator. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your patience as well for standing by as we're taking our callers. So we have mainstream media that seems to, keep publishing the stories over and over again, and they don't seem to. There's really no accountability. I mean, we've spoken about media tribunals. We've spoken about ombudsmen and how they get involved in issues like that. What needs to happen to curb this animal that is called fake news now? Opa, I hope you can hear me.
Hi, yeah, I'm getting through.
Yes, Opa, thank you for joining us. We're talking about the issue of fake news. I hope you heard my question.
Okay, I think the question itself, it needs to be unpacked in this way. Let's look at the media in South Africa through the history itself. Now we're living in the phase 2 apartheid, which the transition of media is still a crisis in this country. I agree with other comments in the raise about the media tribunal. We have not done much to convince to have a tribunal media that have its own and also have the influence what takes place, and look at how the backlog in any services that the masses that are suffering in terms of access to internet, data, the service providers are still holding more shares, in the business. If we look at in the print media for itself, print media is NASPAS is only 80% of it. And then you go to broadcasting. Then you look at broadcasting, SABC, it's owned by MultiChoice,
not the power and the media and politics. That's something that we need to look into. And then if we want to address the alternative media that is owned by the people, for the people, not for the politician, not for the interest of benefit, not for the what's so-called, they do adverts, not for adverts, because most of the money, most of the media is doing adverts. And then it's marketing adverts, not what we want to see, not what we will be able to see and control. Because media, we believe media is people's story, it's us, talking about everyone. It's not about who invested more, who's got shares into it, and then when it's got shares, what kind of propaganda that you go, comes to the name, it says fake news. I mean, fake news, there was a minister, what happened to the broadcasting media? So go to the print media, the reshuffling of the editors, the editorial room, what happened to that? And they don't, even the journalists, majority that's right, journalists are black. If you go to the class, I hate to speak about class, but if you go to the class in terms of labor, you find most of the people that are writers, are photographers, are black.
Absolutely. I mean, the issue of alternative news being attacked as fake news, we would like to also explore that, but just very quickly want to take another caller. Zandile, we see you. Your comments, please.
Yes, good evening. I would like to join the people that just spoke earlier on. One of them, I think, is also a political analyst. That, media is controlled by a very, very devious group of people, because reality is that they will rubbish every black leader, whether Cyril Ramaphosa becomes a leader, whether Nkosazana Zuma becomes a leader. The agenda is just every black person should be perceived as hopeless, corrupt, useless, strings of affairs. They just have a lot of agenda to make sure that a black person is perceived by the world as hopeless and useless. They've done it to many of us, and now we are aware exactly what is their motive, and we are working on the ground to conscientize our people on what we have assessed publicly, and we are working on it, and we know that they are no longer recouping the revenue that they used to, even though they are dying, but they are still clear that they will fight till the end to rubbish African people. So we will deal with it. But what is also a very disappointing area is that while we have communications committees, what do they do? Because if you don't draw an agenda as a leading party, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is the plan of the leading party? Because if you do not craft an agenda of the media to deal with the media, instead of dealing with all the rebutting of small matters, and I do understand why President Zuma does not bother to even rebut anything, because these people have crafted an agenda to rubbish everyone.
Zandile, thank you for your point. I would certainly appreciate it. I think the importance of news consumers themselves to conscientize themselves and be able to, to tell fake news from real news is very important. We have to take our callers back to back. Joe from Cape Town, you're next. Thank you for joining us. Your view?
Hello.
Yes, Joe. Good evening to you.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I've got so many things to say.
I'm going to ask you to consolidate them, please, Joey. We're really running out of time, but we certainly appreciate you phoning in.
Yes, very quickly. I was just watching Question Time on SABC just now. There was a guy called Courage Mwaringa. He calls himself an independent political analyst, and yet he was endorsing Robert Mugabe's wife as the next president of the country, Zimbabwe. Why I'm raising this up, it reminds me, I'm reminded of this chap or this show that I recently watched. When I'm watching your show, especially the two gentlemen there on the studio who are, portraying themselves to be, saying
yeah, Joe, I'm going to ask you to just consolidate your point, and perhaps we'll get back to you on the phone, because we really need you to just get to the point very quickly. Yap from Mpumalanga, thank you for joining us. What is your point?
Thank you. We've got a problem with the white monopoly capital. When they look at us blacks, they see slaves, and they are able to utter whatever devilish statement about us? What could make these few individuals to insult a leader of 15 million black people? And they're doing this in order to aggress the people, so that the black people could start to fight each other or start a civil war in this country. They've got it's a white capital agenda that make them fight amongst themselves.
Yeah.
What we need to do is to boycott all their establishments. We need to make sure that they get no penny from us, because their economic survival is also dependent on us. We need to make sure that as they divide us, we get united even better. And we need to be able to choose our leaders as ourselves, because whoever is our leader and is not chosen by them, they make sure that they devil him. Well,
yeah. From Mpumalanga, you've made your point. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate it. I think the point he's making here is just from the callers that we've gotten, the emotions, that they're displaying, and some of these articles are perhaps meant to, evoke, elicit strong emotions from the consumers of this news.
I just want to make two responses, seeing that we're tight on time here.
Yes.
First, I want to respond to the issue on the matter of apologies generally that happens after the fact. And then I want to speak about just media independence quickly. But firstly, on the matter of an apology, an apology is such a sentimental thing that you offer someone an apology because, you recognize that you did them wrong in some ways or the other. Apology can be verbal, apology can be materialistic. For instance, if I steal from you, I can't just say sorry. I have to say sorry and give your stuff back, right? That means an apology must be restorative in its nature. If the apology is not restorative in its nature, then it's no apology at all. Importantly, the apology must be proportional to the level of damage that it has done. That's to say, if I defame you publicly, I need to apologize to you in a similar fashion publicly.
Yeah. Because when these stories are leaked out and social media picks it up, you see how people react, and most of them believe these stories because what they see on news is what they believe. But the issue of credibility here then comes into question, and people having to live up to the local code of ethics and conduct. Sorry, we're just running out of time. I need Dirk to respond to this. Have you noticed how social media then picks up on these stories?
No, social media picks up very quickly, and you'll be called out as as he was saying, if you don't apologize properly, users are going to call you out and say this isn't good enough. But what we're seeing as well, just from the mass media, we know that it's dying, and we're seeing these pockets of independence popping up. Whether it's an international like a Huffington Post or a Daily Maverick, or they're taking the power away from the mass media and they're actually speaking truth to the users. So it's a smaller community, but they're giving them the news that they're looking for. And these bigger entities are grasping at straws to keep the users and pull them in. So are they using shock tactics? Most of them are. Are they trying to just get people's attention? Of course. That's why they'll put a slanderous thing up, because as soon as you see a slanderous article, automatically go, I need to go and read that article. What happens then? Sales go up.
Right.
So it's, at the end of the day, it's that supply chain. But people are aware of it, and they want to say, this far and no more. We want the real news. We want to know the real opinion. Listen to us.
Yeah, and I think people are somewhat aware now of people pushing their own agendas to get their own story out. But I do hope that you can hear us. The right for people to know what is happening in their space, and also just the proliferation of false and deliberate news out there. Where do we draw the line?
Okay, where do we draw the line? I think there's no way where we can draw the line. What is needed is that how do we advance our our Bill of Rights constitution, and look at what chapters that really exercise what we all seem to, without looking at ourselves based on the class. We're human. What is the human rights say? What is the freedom of expression is saying about it? And what does that say in terms of the communication committee, portfolio? What is their angle? What is their approach? And trying to have the alternative. And in terms of what, as right now, is a campaign and other affiliates that work independent, as alternative communication tool to across what is not the media is capturing now. Even if whoever say. Even now we're faced up with global warming, you know, and we're faced up with global warming. What are the causes of it? Where there is other engagement and processes that, in terms of a human rights, environmental way of living, the way we live in our environment is not the way that is pushing economy. The coal and nuclear is not the way to go anymore. As much that we need to find ways of doing alternatively, but collectively, not individuals as it used to. Because under the patriarchal system of that we live in this nature, of which it both doesn't matter, it's white monopoly, I see both integrated. Black monopoly, white monopoly, focusing on an objective of achieving the capitalism objective, not a human as in dignity. When we vote as a freedom in democracy, you know, states, everyone has a voice and everyone has a space, everyone has a right to express, you know, but the media that we have that not cover up to the level where exactly we are unified and united and fighting. Like in terms of communication itself, communication is very important. You know, how do we communicate these issues? How do we create spaces in media? If I want to a space to engage, have a dialogue around this issue of data must fall, access to free and telecommunication, and then what about the towers? Towers are helping. What the alternative can be used? Fiber, we can use fiber. Where's the space? If I want a kind of platform like that in the community radio, on the broadcast, on the TV, I must pay. And what does that mean? It means that someone is controlling and someone is making business and someone doesn't want to speak about it.
Right. Oupa, I'm going to have to cut you off there. Thank you so much for your insight. We certainly appreciate it. A huge thank you to my guests in studio, Oliver and Dirk. Thank you so much for your insight as well. Of course, your viewers at home, for those that called in, we certainly appreciate it. This is ANN 7 Prime. Coming up at the top of the hour, ANC presidential hopeful Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma speaks exclusively to ANN 7. Stay tuned.